being watched. I was not like gallivanting around a forest, taking selfies or anything like that. It was just a really hard week.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I thought I would do a little update on the whole ACACIA Kersey situation that basically unfolded, where there was video footage of ACACIA's kids being left in a park. One of them was wearing a top and a diaper / nappy and was actually on top of a vehicle, and then another one was just left unattended kind of by the road on a mat. And obviously that just sparked complete outrage and people were very concerned.
People that were actually there when this happened stated that she was gone for 10 to 15 minutes.
There were also pictures that were linked as well on the same day allegedly where ACACIA was in the woods. People were really understandably quite upset by this whole situation, and a lot of people were pointing out the fact that this is like a reoccurring theme, but this was by far the most extreme. Now, ACACIA did actually release a public statement. Well, it was a post and it was extremely vague, and when I first read it out I thought she was talking about like dissociative amnesia, and it just felt to me like she was talking about some sort of a mental disorder. Yeah, after her clarifying, she was actually talking about DV, like domestic abuse, domestic violence and stuff, and she has split from her ex, that they do have, I think it's 3 kids together, is it 2 or 3 children, and she did a very heartfelt, teary, it wasn't an apology. I even said this in my last video. I was like, this girl obviously needs help, she needs to get it. I had a lot of lovely people in the comment section basically echoing and spurring on my belief as well, that I feel like even though I don't know her full backstory, and I'm well aware that she does have a lot of people that don't like her way of parenting, etc, etc, I just want to really close in on the fact that I think she understood what she'd done wrong. Now in this, there are some inconsistencies to it. There is some bits where I feel like she's sort of deflecting blame. Yes, however, I understand 100% where she's coming from when she says she's gotten out of a difficult relationship, a difficult situation.
I had mentioned on my Instagram that I've been dealing with domestic abuse and domestic violence for several years now, but since my separation it has gotten progressively worse week by week.
The bit that confused a lot of people was the fact that she is basically saying that she is still going through instances of being domestically abused by her ex-husband, partner, whoever, whatever. That's what confused a lot of people, especially within the video. And she was basically saying that she'd had enough and that she stepped out to the tree line. She could see the kids at all times, and as soon as she noticed that one of her kids was on top of the vehicle, she then came over. Now,
I'm not going to cry in front of the whole park nor in front of my kids, so I stepped to the tree line where I knew that I could have a second but also keep an eye on everybody. Once I saw in the car, I started walking back. At the same exact time I was already on my way. I removed from the car immediately and sat back down on the blanket.
I could sit here and I could say a few things that I find a bit iffy about that. I mean, there was someone filming and they got like fairly close up to this kid and they were panning around and you couldn't see ACACIA anywhere. She says tree line, but you know, this child, are they Spider-Man? What's happening? Like, they were up on that car and they were shouting daddy, 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 etc, etc. And of course ACACIA wasn't there, and her statement, she says that she came back once she realised, and she sat back down on the picnic blanket because she didn't want to cry in front of her kids, because she'd been doing a lot of that. And the thing is, I do feel for her when she says that, you know, she hasn't been getting the support and she feels like, I can't remember her exact terminology, basically insinuating that she's like drowning under all this stress and things. And I do want to say this, is that it does confuse a lot of people, but you can still be a victim of domestic abuse and things from your ex-husband, ex-partner, despite you both splitting up, despite you both, if you're co-parenting. I mean, you can have exes that turn extremely, exes that still try and control you, gaslight you, verbally abuse you and that kind of stuff. And because you have kids together, there is no real escaping it. Do you know what I mean? Because you already have that tie. And, you know, and some people actually turn more nasty, like if you've already suffered that kind of a relationship anyway, when you're in the relationship, by splitting up, it can just make it so much worse because you've wronged the other person. And that's, in my head, that's the reason why I think a lot of people kind of stay together despite, you know, having kids, despite being in a very bad relationship. Now, I don't know anything about their relationship.
Okay, so one thing that I'm not even sure if I've made that clear, because me and my dumbass just cannot, like, articulate things at the best of times. I am in, that's my kids, by the way. I am in no which way, like, excusing what she did, so please don't get that like misconstrued. I did a whole video on it prior. I'm just talking about this video in particular. I'm also not saying that being a victim of DVDA in any which way excuses this behavior, so don't think I'm saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, obviously that still does not excuse what she did. And like, you know, if she could have made, like, I do feel like she was lacking in the fact that she didn't really own up to her own fault in what had happened. She was just sort of saying that she'd been going through a hard time, so it went on to her kid. She wasn't really, you know what I mean? Okay, so don't think that I'm excusing it, because I'm not. And I'm not saying that just because she's been through some crap, she can then do that to her kids, because that is literally not it whatsoever. I'm just trying to take what she says and the fact that she says that she's been struggling and that she's going to get help, and I'm taking that and kind of holding it to her a little bit. In my own head, I'm going, okay, well, this is your last chance, I suppose, for the internet, because she's done some shady stuff before. So that's just my stance on it. I just didn't really want to go into a whole entire hog, because I went into that in my last video.
She's basically out here saying that, you know, this is a thing, and she says that she's going to get help and she's having work. She's working with social workers.
I am working closely with a social worker who has I do not want to be crying on the internet. Department of Human Services, if you don't know what DHS is, it's basically like CPS, but I've been working very closely with her to get help, and she has been the most supportive person in my life recently and has changed my life, with help with support groups and getting set up with a navigator.
Now, all I want to say is that I hope to goodness that this is like a massive turning point, and I really do sympathise with absolutely any mum who or parent that turns around and goes like, I need help because I can't, like I literally can't do this, especially given kind of what we know. Maybe that was her turning point. I'm always going to give people the benefit of the doubt, like if they're out here. Some people, like I'll read a few comments just so you guys can like gauge left and right what's been happening, but me personally, I think that she's not being 100% honest and truthful with what actually happened on that day, just because it doesn't really look like that on the camera, but we weren't there. But that's just my honest opinion. I feel like she's kind of deflecting it a little bit. However, I feel like she's telling the truth when she says she was at her breaking point. And I feel like in that situation, if she's reached out and she's getting like extra work and extra help, and she's going to get more help to help her and her children, like that probably was the wake-up call that she needed. And I like just wish her the best in that, you know, doing whatever she needs to do. Bearing in mind, I don't really watch a lot of her content, but I know what it feels like to feel like you're literally drowning in that kind of way. And, you know, just listening to her did just make me think. Oh, someone said, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Is she saying her ex was abusing her the week that the videos came out? And someone said, I got divorced 3 years ago and we have a son together. Believe it or not, ex-partners' husbands can still abuse you, mostly mentally. And then someone else then went on to say that she's still tied to him. And this is what I was trying to talk about earlier, in the fact that you are still tied to your ex-spouse. And in some instances, it can make it worse because you've not only like wronged them by breaking up with them, like that, especially if they've got like narcissistic tendencies and things, that just comes out in just full outrage. And it's often worse before than it was, just in terms of mentally. So I understand that. Oh, I saw the video. As a childcare professional, I was clenching so hard, worrying for those babies. Someone said, but why were you in the woods? what about the other baby left alone on the blanket? And this is I feel like I'm trying really hard. I know it's extremely difficult not to focus on the actual instance, but I'm trying to believe her when she says that she's now going to do better and she's going to get help. Like, the kids are now okay. The kids are obviously, like, the kids are still there. You can only hope that she'll move on from it. But I understand. I feel like her retelling of the story probably wasn't very accurate, and it was just more than likely to save face. I'm a young two, but like, if I need to step away because I need a min, trust me, I get that. I make sure the kids are attended or in a safe area. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Like, why would you take your kids to a park if you're literally on the verge of just like, you can't cope anymore? She says that she doesn't want her kids to see her cry, but it's a bit like, if you're in that kind of state, why would you? It's just kind of thinking ahead when it's not always possible to think that logically when you're in the heat of the moment, because you just want to do what the kids want to do. But I feel like, yeah, I'm trying not to dig apart the story too much because I've already done that. We are all only human and doing the best we can. I hear you and believe you, wishing you and your baby's safety. I'm so sorry this is happening. DV is so serious and something people just don't understand. I hope you're okay. I mean, it's extremely split, and she did like a 3-part. She did say that she's not going to be disappearing completely off of social media because it's earned her the most amount of money. Now, what I will say is, I think that if her head is in that kind of headspace at the minute, social media is not going to be the one for them. And you know what, I get it. Like, I fully understand the fact that if that is your way of making money, then obviously you're going to continue doing it. And how, for instance, the way that I can understand why she wouldn't just be like, oh, you know, I'm just going to pack it in, is because she literally earns all of her money from social media. And I earn a bit of money from social media, but the thing is that I'm a commentating channel. I'm not expected to be here sharing every inch of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a different type of niche on the internet. So I can't imagine like really feeling that crap, because there's days where I don't like it. Sometimes I'll disappear for like a few days because I'm just like, meh, like I need like a mental health break. But in this element she can't. But I feel like if you've gone through that much like mental, and if your life is that chaotic, then I definitely think that taking a step back, even if it will hinder your finances for a little while. I mean, I'm sure she has enough, I'm sure she's financially stable enough to be able to take a bit of time out, but she says that she likes creating, so I don't really know.
That's all. I have a lot going on right now. Like I mentioned, I have a lot of things I want to cross off my list before I keep creating, but creating is something that brings me joy and has always brought me joy, and so I have no plans on letting anybody tell me where I can and can't be. And the internet is a place for everybody, and it is a place for me, and so I will continue to be here.
Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I just wanted it to be like a closing chapter. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and feelings on that, because I know that this has been extremely chatty. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.